Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take on massive topics, stack up the research, and pull out the crucial insights and vocabulary you need to become genuinely well-informed quickly.
Today, we are opening up a topic that is perhaps the most universally relevant one we will ever tackle: health and fitness.
I mean, it's fundamentally important for every single person, isn't it? Regardless of where you live, what you do, or how old you are.
It really is. And it's a high-value subject for you, the listener, whether you're trying to enhance your general knowledge, improve your professional communication skills, or
just understand the global forces that are shaping both your personal life and, the world around you. This is really the bedrock of how society functions.
That's exactly right. Our mission today is to move past the headlines and the quick fixes. We're going to extract the core knowledge, the surprising data points, the patterns, and crucially, the specific terminology that allows you to discuss health and fitness with clarity.
With precision.
Precision is the currency of good communication when you're dealing with such complex, interconnected systems.
And we had an incredibly broad set of source material for this deep dive, which makes sense because health isn't just about what happens in the gym or on your plate. It touches on everything from, the absolute physical basics of individual physiology right up to global trends, economic policy, and even environmental impact. It's all intertwined.
And being able to confidently use the right terms, whether you're talking about a balanced diet, the hurdles of mental health stigma, or debating global healthcare infrastructure, that immediately signals a deeper level of understanding.
And that's what we aim to give you.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this. I think we have to start with the foundational elements, right? The things we often take for granted, our physical health.
Yes. The material defines physical health as the fundamental bedrock of our overall well-being.
The bedrock. I like that.
It's the optimal state where the body is free from disease, capable of sustaining daily activities, and, performing with energy and vitality. It's literally the machine functioning correctly.
I really like that framing of it as the essential operating system, because if your core OS is constantly glitching or running slowly or crashing, then everything else, your career, your learning, your relationships, it all becomes exponentially harder to manage. The energy you need just to pursue your goals, it has to come from a healthy body first.
And the sources provide some really tangible, measurable benefits that emphasize just how essential this foundation is. One of the clearest is the enhancement of what they call cardiovascular function.
So we're talking about the health and efficiency of the heart, the lungs, and all the blood vessels that make up that system. What are the specific, measurable outcomes when we optimize it?
Well, the most immediate one is a significantly reduced risk of major health crises, like heart disease, stroke, and chronic high blood pressure.
And the data points on this are pretty clear, I take it.
Oh, they're not ambiguous at all. They're clinical. Engaging in just a moderate level of aerobic exercise, so think brisk walking, cycling, that kind of thing, for 150 minutes a week has a direct impact on your blood pressure.
150 minutes a week, that breaks down to about 2.5 hours. Or, 30 minutes, 5 days a week. That seems incredibly achievable for most people, given the payoff.
It really is. And the measurable impact is so precise. The sources note this can lead to a blood pressure drop of, get this, 5 to 8 millimeters of mercury.
5 to 8 millimeters of mercury. Wow! That's a clinical improvement, right?
The huge one. To put that in context, dropping your systolic blood pressure by that much can move you out of a pre-hypertensive category entirely. You're significantly reducing your long-term risk of a stroke or heart attack.
That's a massive return on a pretty modest investment of time.
And on top of that, that same consistent moderate aerobic activity is linked to cutting the risk of heart disease by a full 30%.
30%. That figure really drives home the power of just consistent, moderate effort. It's not about becoming an elite athlete.
Not at all.
It's just about regular movement. And a 30% reduction, that fundamentally alters your long-term health trajectory.
Absolutely. Now, moving past the cardiovascular system, the sources also focus on musculoskeletal integrity. So the strength and health of our bones, our joints, our muscles. This is directly tied to lifelong mobility.
And it's key to preventing things like osteoporosis, where bones lose density and become fragile. The material specifically highlights that weight-bearing exercises, which is anything that forces you to work against gravity, right?
Correct. Lifting weights, using resistance bands, running, even a fast-paced walk.
That kind of exercise can actually increase bone density.
That phrase, actively increase, is where the surprise is for a lot of people. I think we often assume that bone density peaks in our 20s, and then we're just fighting to maintain it.
Sort of a slow decline.
Exactly. But the data suggests that with consistent weight-bearing activity, adults can see a tangible increase of 1 to 3% annually.
Wait, hold on. So even as an adult, you can actively build density, not just hang on to what you have. That kind of goes against the common wisdom, doesn't it?
It does. It's all about mechanical stress. When you subject your bones and muscles to that controlled stress through resistance, it signals to your cells that they need to reinforce and strengthen the structure to handle future loads.
So it's an active process of reinforcing your foundation.
Your entire structural foundation, making your skeleton more resilient over time.
That is fascinating. We talk about muscle gains in cardio, but the idea that we can systematically strengthen our actual skeleton year after year is a really powerful motivator.
And finally, there's a crucial boost to our immune system efficacy. Regular physical activity enhances your body's natural defenses. It improves the circulation of immune cells, making them more effective at detecting and fighting off pathogens.
So you literally get sick less often? Is it measurable?
It is. Studies suggest that consistent moderate activity might reduce overall infection rates by as much as 30%.
30%.
And here's a really deep insight. The research indicates that regular exercise can even make vaccinations more effective. It strengthens your body's specific, targeted response to them.
Wow, so it's like improving the efficiency of your immune system's training program.
Exactly. So physical health provides measurable improvements in cardiovascular function, musculoskeletal integrity, and immune efficacy. That's the vocabulary you need to articulate those benefits.
Okay, but while the rewards are immense, the source material quickly pivots to the significant contemporary challenges that make achieving this health so difficult for billions of people.
It does.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The first and most pervasive obstacle is the dramatic rise of sedentary behavior in modern life.
It's the defining health challenge of our era. I mean, so many jobs are screen-based, requiring us to sit for 8, 10, 12 hours a day. Our entertainment is passive. Our environment is often designed for cars, not people.
And the data shows this sedentary behavior is the primary driver behind major global health issues. The massive increase in obesity, the prevalence of type 2 diabetes, and of course, cardiovascular diseases. The scale is, it's just breathtaking.
The World Health Organization figures are staggering. We are talking about 1.9 billion adults globally classified as overweight.
1.9 billion.
With 650 million of those classified as obese. That's nearly 1 in 4 people on the planet struggling with excess weight.
But the really alarming thing is the speed of this shift. That 650 million obesity figure has actually tripled since 1975.
Tripled?
In just 2 generations, the weight profile of the entire global population has undergone this radical, catastrophic change.
And tripling a global health burden in less than 50 years. It really speaks to a profound failure of the modern environment to support our basic human biology. And urbanization is a major factor here, presenting real physical barriers.
How does rapid city growth actively discourage health?
Well, often it means less readily available safe green space, fewer parks, fewer safe walking paths, or just poor sidewalks that make walking difficult or unsafe.
Right. If you have to choose between driving your car or walking home on a busy street with no sidewalk, the choice is pretty much made for you. The infrastructure limits your options.
It actively limits opportunities for the incidental exercise we need. And it's also a nutritional challenge, isn't it? Urban life often means a greater reliance on highly processed, energy-dense foods.
Foods that are optimized for speed and shelf life, not nutrition.
Precisely. If fast food is on every corner and fresh produce is expensive and hard to find, what some call a food desert, it becomes incredibly difficult to make healthy choices, no matter how strong your willpower is. The environment is engineered against you.
The sources also draw a really critical distinction when they analyze global health burdens. In many lower-income nations, they're still battling persistent infectious diseases.
Yes, the focus there remains on communicable diseases like tuberculosis and malaria. We still saw, for example, 10 million new TB cases reported in 2023.
10 million.
And these diseases are often linked directly to inadequate public health infrastructure, poor sanitation, limited access to clean water, and just a shortage of basic medical care. While many affluent nations have largely controlled these, that is not the reality for much of the world.
And in stark contrast, the health challenge in more affluent nations has decisively shifted towards non-communicable diseases, or NCDs. So, diseases that aren't spread by infection, but result from a mix of genetics, lifestyle, and environment.
That is the defining shift in high-income countries. We are talking about cancer, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and chronic respiratory illnesses. and the scale is immense. NCDs now account for about 70% of deaths in these high-income settings. This profound contrast dictates fundamentally different public health priorities between regions.
That global context of shifting health burdens, it naturally brings us to the concept of preventative healthcare. This is the proactive approach measures you take before you get sick, aiming to prevent illness or just detect it so early that treatment is far more effective.
It is the single most cost-effective investment a society can make in health. And the historical success stories detailed in the material are just incredible, showcasing vaccinations as a major world-changing win for public health.
Absolutely. The sources remind us that vaccination campaigns led to the complete eradication of smallpox globally. It is gone from the face of the earth.
A total victory over a devastating disease. And that eradication shows the potential of coordinated global action. Polio is another staggering example. Vaccinations have reduced cases worldwide by an astonishing 99.9%.
99.9%. We're right on the verge of eliminating another major cause of disability globally.
All through pure preventative effort.
And beyond vaccinations, routine health screenings are critical tools for this proactive strategy. Things like regular mammograms, colonoscopies, or cholesterol and blood sugar tests.
These screenings are all about early detection. The goal is to catch conditions or risk factors when they are preclinical, before symptoms even appear. When conditions like cancer are detected early, treatment is far more effective and less invasive. The material states that early screenings can improve overall survival rates by up to 20%.
A 20% improvement in survival rates? I mean, that figure alone justifies the massive public expenditure on screening programs. And we can't overlook lifestyle interventions here either.
No, behavior modification is prevention. The simple act of quitting smoking, for example, can reduce your risk of lung cancer by 50% within just 10 years of stopping.
50% in 10 years. That is a powerful illustration of the body's capacity to self-repair. But even with all these proven high-impact preventative services, the material emphasizes this critical hurdle of health equity. Access just isn't universal.
And that's a tragedy because these interventions are proven to work. In many lower-income regions, access is limited by a critical trifecta of issues: shortages of medical facilities, a serious lack of trained healthcare professionals,
and the logistical challenges, right? Just reaching remote or dispersed populations with vaccination and screening programs.
Exactly. So it's not just about inventing the cure. It's about solving the logistics of delivery and ensuring that the financial barrier is completely removed. Policy discussions have to aggressively address these infrastructure disparities.
So moving on, the material also covers the management of chronic diseases, long-term conditions like diabetes or hypertension that require ongoing, continuous care rather than a single cure.
Right. The shift here is from full prevention to chronic disease management. The focus becomes maintaining the patient's quality of life and preventing serious complications like kidney failure or a stroke.
This is where self-monitoring becomes crucial. Patients need tools, like a glucometer for diabetes, to track their condition regularly.
It provides the feedback loop they need for proactive adjustments in medication or lifestyle, and patient education is highlighted as a specific, measurable intervention. Giving individuals the knowledge they need to manage their condition daily is key.
It's about empowering the patient to become part of the healthcare team.
It is. And studies demonstrate that participation in diabetes education programs, for example, can help patients lower their HbA1c levels.
HbA1c, that's a term we absolutely need to nail down for communication purposes. It's a blood test that measures the average blood sugar level over the past 2 to 3 months, correct? Not just a snapshot.
Exactly. It gives that crucial long-term picture of sugar control. The material notes that patients participating in education programs lowered this specific measure by about 0.8%.
Now, a drop of 0.8% might sound small, but I imagine in chronic care, that kind of consistency really matters. Why is that considered a win?
It's a huge clinical win. In chronic disease management, even small, consistent reductions in HbA1c significantly lower the lifetime risk of microvascular complications. So, damage to the eyes, kidneys, and nerves.
So that 0.8% represents?
It represents reduced blindness, reduced need for dialysis, and reduced amputations over the patient's life. It is highly significant for their long-term prognosis.
So consistent ongoing care, self-monitoring, and robust patient education are the core vocabulary here. But the sources also note that managing these conditions is hampered by high treatment costs and restricted access, particularly in rural areas.
The cost of insulin, the cost of regular testing supplies, the difficulty of getting specialist appointments, These are profound barriers that can turn a manageable condition into a catastrophic burden for many people. It really highlights the critical need for policy intervention in pricing and access.
It sounds like managing chronic disease requires incredible discipline, and so much of that centers on, well, nutrition. That leads us directly into the next core area of our sources, which frames nutrition as the essential fuel for optimal performance.
That framing is perfect. Nutrition isn't just about weight management. It's about powering the entire system, fueling physical activity, yes, but also enabling clear cognitive function, tissue repair, immune response,
And hormonal balance.
and hormonal balance.
The material does a great job of defining the components of a balanced diet. The right mix of macronutrients, carbs, proteins, fats, and micronutrients, which are the vitamins and minerals.
And understanding the nuances of those components is key. For example, the difference between simple and complex carbs. Complex carbohydrates from whole grains provide sustained energy because they're broken down slowly.
Right, so you avoid those sharp blood sugar spikes and the energy crashes you get from simple sugars and processed foods. Then there's protein, crucial not just for muscle, but also for building antibodies and other parts of the immune system.
And we have to emphasize healthy fats. They're not just calories, they're functional. Healthy fats from things like avocados, nuts, seeds, and fatty fish are vital for brain health and, critically, for proper hormone regulation.
Hormone regulation, I think most people underestimate how deeply their diet influences things like metabolism, mood, and stress response through those hormone signals.
They do. And the role of fruits and vegetables is quantified powerfully. The World Health Organization provides a clear, actionable target. Consuming 400 grams of fruits and vegetables daily can help reduce the risk of non-communicable diseases by 25%.
A 25% risk reduction just from hitting a specific daily target of produce. That is a clear public health message. So sustained energy, healthy fats, hormone regulation, these are all core vocabulary here.
Absolutely. The sources also provide a very nuanced look at the popular and often confusing world of dietary trends and fads. There is massive public interest here, but it requires critical evaluation.
We looked at veganism, which excludes all animal products. The benefits are noted: lower cholesterol, usually higher fiber, and of course a smaller environmental footprint.
But the sources are very clear on the necessary precautions. A strict vegan diet carries noted risks of specific deficiencies, primarily vitamin B12, which is almost exclusively found in animal products, as well as iron and omega-3 fatty acids.
So you have to rely on supplementation or carefully selected fortified foods, which takes real discipline and knowledge.
It does. Then you have the ketogenic diet, or keto, which is high-fat and extremely low-carb. It's undeniably associated with rapid initial weight loss.
But the cautionary note is important.
It is. If it's managed poorly, particularly if the fat sources are not heart-healthy, it can potentially lead to an increase in LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol. This could significantly increase the long-term risk of cardiovascular disease.
And intermittent fasting focuses on when you eat, not what you eat. The sources say there are potential benefits for metabolic health, but stress that it requires medical supervision for some people.
Especially for individuals with blood sugar control issues. It's not a generic quick fix. Using terms like metabolic health, nutrient deficiencies, LDL cholesterol, and fortified foods, we elevate the discussion from simple endorsement to an informed analysis of risk and benefit.
Let's talk about the behemoth, that is the supplement market. The sources valued it at a stunning $150 billion in 2023. That kind of figure speaks to a massive consumer belief in finding shortcuts.
It does. And the sources present a balanced view. Supplements are perfectly sensible tools when a deficiency has been diagnosed. For instance, vitamin D supplementation is often necessary in northern regions with limited sunlight.
But the caution is pronounced.
The warning is against over-reliance and the potential for toxicity. High doses of certain fat-soluble vitamins like A or D can build up to dangerous levels. And more broadly, the scientific evidence for many general health supplements for people without a diagnosed deficiency is often quite weak.
The vast majority of people can get what they need from food.
Exactly. That distinction is key. Finally, we have to look at the global crisis of malnutrition. And this is a broad term covering not just undernutrition, not eating enough, but also overnutrition and specific micronutrient deficiencies.
The challenges are really geographically polarized. In lower-income countries, the struggle is with undernutrition. The sources say 149 million children are affected by stunting.
Stunting. Impaired physical and cognitive growth due to chronic malnutrition. It is a life sentence of reduced potential.
And widespread vitamin A deficiency affects 340 million children, which dramatically increases their risk of infections and blindness. These are just devastating figures.
They reflect a fundamental failure in food security. Meanwhile, in higher income nations, the challenge is overnutrition, the overconsumption of calorie-dense, nutrient-poor processed foods, which is driving the global obesity and diabetes epidemic.
The sources state that 422 million adults worldwide have been diagnosed with diabetes.
That's 422 million people requiring lifelong chronic disease management. And overlaying both extremes is food insecurity, the lack of consistent access to affordable, nutritious food, which affects a massive 2.4 billion people globally.
So understanding stunting, overnutrition, and food insecurity as global policy issues, not just personal failures, is crucial to having an effective conversation about health policy.
Exactly.
Now we shift to a topic that is absolutely essential to overall fitness: mental well-being, which the sources frame beautifully as the core of resilience. Mental health isn't a separate category. It is central to the entire system.
That's a powerful point. Good mental health is the prerequisite for the energy and motivation you need for consistent healthy behaviors. Getting up to exercise, choosing nutritious food, all of it.
And on the flip side, if you're struggling with anxiety or chronic stress, it manifests physically, doesn't it? It often leads to lethargy, which pushes people toward unhealthy coping mechanisms.
Whether that's comfort foods, excessive alcohol, or other substance misuse, the connection is direct and immediate.
So what tools are proving effective in managing this? The sources highlight mindfulness practices like meditation, yoga, or journaling.
Right, because they shift your focus away from rumination and anxiety and anchor your mind in the present moment. This can dramatically reduce the stress response.
And we have physiological proof.
Yeah.
A 2023 study found that just 15 minutes of daily meditation could noticeably lower cortisol levels, the body's primary stress hormone, by 25%.
A 25% reduction in the stress hormone. That is a massive, measurable impact from a mental practice. It shows the mind is directly regulating the body's fight-or-flight machinery.
It's not just a feeling of being calmer, it's a measurable biological change.
Exactly. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is also emphasized as a powerful, structured approach. This is a type of talk therapy that helps people identify, challenge, and replace negative thought patterns.
And the sources affirm its effectiveness, showing measurable improvement in mood and symptoms for around 60% of patients within just 12 weeks.
It's a clear, time-limited psychological tool that yields predictable results for many people. So when we discuss mental health, we're equipped with terms like mindfulness, cortisol levels, and CBT.
Crucially, however, these tools can only work if people seek them out. The material flags mental health stigma, the negative attitudes and discrimination around mental illness as a significant global barrier.
It actively prevents people from accessing care. It's often rooted in these deeply held societal beliefs that conflate emotional vulnerability with weakness.
Which means that admitting you need help can carry a heavy social and professional cost.
It forces suffering into silence.
So, addressing this requires systemic public strategies. What are the key initiatives discussed for reducing this stigma?
Well, public awareness campaigns, like Australia's Are You OK? Initiative, which normalizes checking in on a friend. School-based education to teach emotional literacy early on. And, critically, ensuring counseling services are easily accessible and affordable.
Removing the practical hurdles.
Exactly. And the sheer scope of the problem underscores the urgency. The World Health Organization estimates that 1 in 8 people worldwide experiences a mental health disorder.
1 in 8. That's nearly 1 billion people globally. Given those figures, treating mental health as some niche issue is just fundamentally illogical. It's a major public health challenge.
It is. The sources also explore stress management, emphasizing that chronic stress is a massive physical health hazard. It's not just a feeling, it's constantly elevated levels of stress hormones flooding your system.
Which increases the risk of hypertension, weakens the immune system, and contributes to mental health conditions.
Mitigation involves both mental calming techniques, deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, and practical organizational strategies like effective time management and setting clear boundaries in work and life.
And one of the most powerful mitigators is strong social support. Active, positive social relationships act as a powerful buffer against stress.
And the impact is measurable. A 2024 study found that strong social support reduced stress-related health risks by 15%. That's a substantial health benefit derived purely from the quality of your relationships.
Finally, within mental health, the material looks at the double-edged sword of technology.
Right. On the positive side, technology has revolutionized access. Mental health apps provide resources, and teletherapy has fundamentally broken down geographical barriers, making care available in remote areas.
But the drawback is equally clear. Excessive screen time, especially passive social media use, disrupts critical sleep cycles and is linked to increased anxiety.
And the data on youth is particularly concerning. Studies link social media overuse to a reported 20% rise in anxiety symptoms among teenagers.
A 20% rise is huge. It suggests the environments we inhabit online are actively contributing to distress. The solution posed is promoting digital detoxes and setting clear limits on screen time.
Which is incredibly difficult in a world driven by constant connectivity.
Okay, transitioning from mental resilience back to the physical, the sources solidify exercise as a non-negotiable key to longevity and quality of life. And it has to be a well-rounded fitness regimen.
Exactly. You need aerobic activity for the heart, strength training for muscles and bone density, flexibility exercises like yoga for mobility, and especially for older adults, balance training like Tai Chi, which significantly reduces the risk of falls.
And the standard recommendation is still that WHO guideline, 150 to 300 minutes of moderate aerobic activity weekly, plus muscle strengthening twice a week. That's the target.
And the benefits span all life stages. For children, it supports physical growth and, surprisingly to many, cognitive development.
Right, how does moving the body translate into better brain function?
Physical activity increases critical blood flow to the brain, which improves focus, memory consolidation, and executive functions like planning. The material connects regular exercise in children to a measurable 10% increase in academic performance.
A 10% improvement in school performance just from regular activity? That changes the conversation about recess from a nice-to-have to a core academic necessity. And for seniors, the impact is profound.
It's vital for maintaining mobility, independence, and cognitive function. Regular activity is associated with a significant 30% lower risk of developing dementia.
A 30% reduction. That is a massive preventative win in an aging society. And we can't forget the social dimension.
No, when exercise happens in groups, sports leagues, fitness classes, it naturally fosters social connections and acts as a powerful counterbalance to social isolation.
Despite all these clear benefits, the material addresses the persistent barriers. Lack of time, lack of motivation, and these powerful socioeconomic factors.
That's a crucial point. The cost of a gym membership, access to equipment, and the lack of safe infrastructure like parks or lighted streets in lower-income areas make participation significantly harder.
But solutions are emerging.
They are. Free community fitness programs, workplace gyms, and the phenomenal growth of online platforms. That growth figure is telling. Online fitness platforms grew by a remarkable 40% between 2020 and 2023.
A 40% jump. That suggests that for many people, the flexibility and lower cost of online options are successfully helping them overcome those traditional barriers.
Moving to another essential, non-negotiable habit, sleep. The sources stress the necessity of 7 to 9 hours per night for adults. This is when the body performs physical repair, consolidates memories, and stabilizes emotions.
And the risks of chronic deprivation are stark. It's linked to chronic inflammation, obesity, type 2 diabetes, and hypertension. A 2024 study found a 20% higher risk of heart disease associated with chronic sleep deprivation.
A 20% increase in heart disease risk, simply due to poor sleep. It underscores that sleep is not a luxury. It is a biological requirement. Practicing excellent sleep hygiene, consistent bedtimes, avoiding blue light is a core preventative measure.
We discussed social connections in the context of stress, but the sources treat it as a standalone essential habit. Loneliness is a genuine health risk.
It is. Loneliness is associated with increased chronic inflammation and a weakened immune response. The data point here is incredibly sobering.
What is it?
A 2024 meta-analysis found that loneliness increases the risk of premature mortality by a significant 26%. That is higher than the risk associated with many environmental toxins.
26%. If you're trying to articulate the challenges facing modern communities, that 26% figure is an incredibly sharp, impactful data point. It proves social belonging is as critical to survival as clean water or food.
So active participation in community activities, joining clubs, or fostering virtual communities are not just social activities. They are essential preventative health strategies.
Finally, in this segment, we address work-life balance and substance use. Burnout, that state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion, is a global modern epidemic.
And strategies to counter it include flexible work hours and workplace wellness programs. The material provides a fascinating structural example from the Nordic countries.
Oh, right. The countries that have adopted shorter standard work weeks and highly flexible arrangements report 15% higher employee well-being in some comparisons.
It suggests that society-wide structural changes, not just individual stress workshops, are necessary to combat burnout at scale.
And on substance use, the global statistics are just sobering. Smoking causes 8 million deaths annually worldwide, and excessive alcohol consumption significantly increases the risk of liver disease by 40%.
So public health strategies have to address these massive burdens. The sources discuss approaches like high tobacco taxes, aggressive anti-smoking campaigns, and also harm reduction.
Harm reduction, like advocating for vaping as a potentially less harmful alternative for those who can't or won't quit smoking traditional cigarettes. This is often controversial in policy debates, isn't it?
It is. The debate centers on ethics versus pragmatism. Critics argue that harm reduction strategies might normalize or encourage continued substance use, which they see as a moral hazard.
The proponents argue.
Proponents argue that if you cannot achieve total abstinence, then reducing the severity of harm, for example, preventing 8 million deaths from combustible tobacco, is a pragmatic public health victory. It saves lives and reduces massive healthcare costs right now. It's a classic tension between idealistic policy goals and real-world outcomes.
Okay, zooming out now from individual lifestyle choices to the massive global trends and policies that fundamentally shape the health of entire populations. The first undeniable demographic shift is aging populations.
This is a global certainty. 2.1 billion people worldwide are projected to be over 60 by 2050. This demographic tsunami is placing unprecedented pressure on healthcare systems everywhere.
And the implication is a massive, exponentially increased demand for specialized geriatric care and services for chronic conditions like arthritis, heart failure, and dementia.
So solutions require proactive policy, primarily through creating age-friendly cities, meaning accessible infrastructure, safe public transport, and integrated services that support independent living for longer.
Technology continues its dual role, acting as both an accelerator and a headwind on a global scale. On the positive side, we see expanded telemedicine access.
Telemedicine is revolutionizing healthcare delivery, connecting patients in remote areas with specialists thousands of miles away. And AI algorithms for diagnostics are proving increasingly powerful, with some models showing accuracy up to 85% in predicting certain conditions.
That is the potential future of early detection. But the negative side, technology fueling sedentary behavior, is a genuine policy challenge. This increased screen time is directly linked to a reported 15% rise in obesity rates in some studies.
So policymakers face a profound trade-off: how to harness the enormous benefits of technology while mitigating its powerful capacity to drive chronic disease.
We also have to address a direct link between planetary health and human health. Environmental impacts, the air we breathe, the water we drink, these are fundamental.
They are. Air pollution, largely from fossil fuels, is a staggering cause of premature mortality. It is estimated to cause 7 million premature deaths annually worldwide. That makes air quality a primary public health issue.
And climate change has even broader, devastating health implications. How does it specifically increase the spread of infectious diseases?
Well, as global temperatures rise and rainfall patterns shift, the geographical range of disease vectors like mosquitoes and ticks expands. This means diseases like malaria and dengue fever spread into previously unaffected regions.
And it also disrupts food and water security,
leading to malnutrition and mass migration. So, mitigation strategies, transitioning to renewable energy, reforestation, promoting urban green spaces, are not just environmental policies, they're essential preventative health strategies.
And finally, global health policy is the ultimate structural determinant. Decisions made at the national or global level shape the fate of populations. Implementing systems like universal healthcare is a powerful example.
Absolutely. The sources provide a concrete example of the impact. Countries with universal coverage have seen measurable improvements, like a 10% reduction in overall mortality rates in Canada following the implementation of its system.
And the mechanism behind that is that universal access removes the financial barrier to early detection and preventative care, right?
Exactly. People seek help when they need it, not just when they can afford it. And strong regulations are also essential. High tobacco taxes and aggressive anti-smoking campaigns are proven to work. Australia has seen a 20% cut in smoking rates since 2000, heavily attributed to these strong measures.
But effective implementation is always challenged by political will, economic constraints, and funding shortages, especially in lower-income nations.
That's always the challenge. Effective global policy requires addressing those complexities before the benefits can be fully realized.
This has been a true journey, moving from the fundamental building blocks of individual physiology and nutrition, all the way through mental resilience, and finally, examining the global trends and policies that shape health worldwide.
It's clear that health is a crucial defining lens through which you can understand world issues, inequality, the environment, technology, economic policy, and you're now equipped with the vocabulary to articulate these connections. Cardiovascular function, non-communicable diseases, HbA1c, mental health stigma, food insecurity, teletherapy, and age-friendly cities.
These terms give your ideas substance and precision. This detailed knowledge provides you with a truly valuable perspective on yourself, your community, and the world, equipping you to discuss these massive challenges with genuine confidence and insight.
And that leaves us with a provocative final thought to consider. Given the increasing influence of vast global factors, technology, environmental change, policy, demographics, how much will personal health and fitness in the future depend solely on individual choices versus the collective actions and policies of societies and governments?
Where might that balance shift? For example, if climate change makes once-safe foods scarcer, or if city planning continues to prioritize cars over pedestrians, does individual discipline around diet and exercise eventually become overwhelmed by systemic barriers? It's a powerful question of individual agency versus societal responsibility.
And it will only become more central to our lives. It's a balance we all need to start actively thinking about and influencing.
Thank you for joining us on this exploration of health and fitness. We hope this deep dive has been valuable, providing you with the sharp insights and targeted vocabulary to think and talk about this vital subject more effectively. Until next time.